What's up, everybody? This is the Mountain Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Allen, and sadly, this week it is only going to be me. My co-host has felt ill, but let's get into the gaming news. Konami has revealed the full list for the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, so let's run through those, and then I'll give you my thoughts and opinions about them, of course. The first game on the list is Castlevania 1, the classic from the NES. Castlevania 2, Simon's Crest, the black sheep of the franchise. Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Super Castlevania 4. We have Castlevania the Adventure and Castlevania 2, Balmos Revenge from the Game Boy. Castlevania Bloodlines from the Sega Genesis. And Kid Dracula, which I'm guessing it was never released here. I'm guessing it was a overlooked gem on this GameSpot article, and a bonus ebook if you care about that type of stuff. My thoughts and opinions is that this list is pretty much solid, but here's the thing, okay? And I want people to understand this. I understand that this collection is for like the first few years of the Castlevania franchise, but to me, I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, then where's Rondo of Blood? Because that game is often considered the last game of the classic Castlevania franchise, and for me, I probably would have replaced Kid Dracula for it, or maybe see, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I know that there's a possible chance they could probably do another collection and have Rondo of Blood and Symphony of Night be on there, since obviously Symphony of Night is a sequel to Rondo of Blood. So that's probably why they didn't put it on there. But either way, I think it's worth the $20 price tag. And the fun thing is about Castlevania 2, like, at first I was confused, like, wait, are they not putting it on this collection? I mean, like, I gotta be honest, I don't see the reason why they waited until, like, now to announce it. I find that kind of weird. Because that game is, for some strange reason, a lot of the games on the NES, of like the big franchises, I mean the Marios, the Zeldas, the Contras, well, not Contra, and Castlevania, the second game of the franchise were so totally different. But in Mario's case, there were two different Mario 2s. What we got was basically, and I'm gonna say this as nice as I can because I do like Mario Brothers 2, but it's definitely second to least favorite of the classic Mario games. It was basically a ROM hack of a game called Doki Doki Panic. Look up Doki Doki Panic. It is pretty much the same game. It's just with the American version of Mario 2. They made it more Mario-like. So when it comes to Kid Dracula, I have nothing about that. Can I speak English, sir? I have no knowledge about that game because, obviously there was one more game that didn't have the Castlevania name, but it had the Japanese name called Haunted Castle, and that's on the arcade collection. So in a way, amongst all three of these collections, you have a total of 9 Castlevania games, which is crazy. And I think it's worth the money, honestly. I think it is. I mean, obviously for me, I would have rather had a physical release, because obviously, as I mentioned before, I prefer physical media. That's just what I prefer. I will buy digital if I have to, But most of the time, if I go to a store, I'm gonna pick up something physical. Um, it's just what I prefer. It's a preference type of thing, and yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, either way, I'm pretty satisfied, and also too, Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse is what basically is what the Castlevania Netflix series, which I still recommend, is based on. The difference is, instead of having the OG Alucard from that game, we have the Symphony of the Night Alucard, which is the more recognizable version of the character. Well, besides the Hellsing Alucard, which that's actually Dracula, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty looking forward to this collection, and it will be out on May 16th. And it will be out for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch. So yeah, let's get into some more news here. All right, Sega came out with 10 more games, and just to run down the previous list of the previous games is Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania Bloodlines. So we're getting Bloodlines on 2 different things now. Space Harrier 2, Shining Force, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Toe Jam and Earl, Comic Zone, Ultra Beast, Gunstar Heroes, and for the new games, Earthworm Jim, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse, World of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, Contra Hard Corps, Streets of Rage 2, Thunder Force 3, Super Fantasy Zone, Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master, and Landstalker. Now, I want to get into the whole Sonic side of things. I want them to put Sonic 3 and Knuckles on here, because every time they do a Genesis collection, they either put Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles by itself, or when it comes to the PC one, they actually have Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because Sonic 3 and Knuckles is actually the more complete version of the game that is officially out. So they better put Sonic 3 and Knuckles. That's probably my favorite out of the classic Sonic games, other than maybe Mania, because I love Sonic Mania. I said this before, Sonic Mania is a fantastic game, and I like I said previously as well, I have yet to actually beat Sonic CD. I know, I call myself a Sonic fan, and I never beat Sonic CD. One game at a time, guys, one game at a time, I'll get to it. But what I find interesting is the Disney licensed games. So maybe we might see Aladdin on this, because they still need to announce 20 more games. So, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to this. It seems to be a better a better bargain than the failure that is the PlayStation Mini. Which, again, what a disappointment that thing was. I was so hyped for it because the PlayStation 1 was my first console after the Super Nintendo. Oh well, could be worse. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me how, like, these mini consoles have been doing well. And also, I'm not sure if we said this previously, but the Sega Genesis Mini will be released on September 19th and it will cost $80. So, and it sounds like to me that the people that they got to do this is freaking killer. They're called M2, so I think that this thing is going to be a lot better than the PlayStation Mini. We'll see how it compares to uh, the Nintendo Entertainment System Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic. If I can get those words out, my God. But yeah, I am definitely going to be paying close attention to this. I'm freaking looking forward to it. I just hope that it's worth the hype. Looking at you, PlayStation Mini. I mean, when it comes to the PlayStation Mini, I wouldn't even pay $1 for it. It is that bad. I would only get it just to mod it, but why? Why? I freaking have, like, I have all the Crash games and the Spyro games for the PlayStation 1 physically, and I also have most of them on my PS3 and my PSP, so why? I mean, just like what we said when we ripped that thing apart, it's just a boring looking system all around. Well, not the... See, now I'm screwing up. This is what happens, folks, when... Okay, let me rephrase this. Okay, like I said previously, there might be technical difficulties in terms of my speech patterns, so I want to apologize beforehand. The thing is about the PlayStation 1 Classic is that it looks dull on the menu. There's no music playing. The game ROMs that they're using are mostly PAL, which again are their TVs back then were different than ours. That whole thing was just, and not to mention, they used an open source emulator instead of using a freaking emulator that Sony could have developed for itself in-house. So I don't get it. I mean, the freaking PlayStation 1 emulations on the PS3 was freaking good. I never hear people complain about it. So I don't know why they couldn't use that technology and maybe improve upon it and then put that system make that if I can get the words out, have that be what runs the games. That whole thing is basically a cash grab. I mean, I'm sure that there are people out there that call the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic a cash grab, but the PlayStation 1 Classic was definitely a cash grab. It screamed cash grab. So, yeah, I mean, well, I'll definitely be, when more games get announced, I'll definitely be talking about it on here, so stay tuned for that. Now, this makes me sad. I'm not sure how good of a source this is. This is from Digital Trends, and it is a article about, is this the end for the Nintendo 3DS? Because basically there's no first-party games in the work. There is no official announcement that the Nintendo 3DS is winding down, but the contents of a financial briefing by the video game company hinted that the handheld console is nearing the end of its rope. More specifically, I can't say, oh my god, I can't talk. It is the lack of content regarding the Nintendo 3DS in the briefing that signals the decline of the handheld console, according to Kotaku. Okay, so pretty much they're saying that the source is from Kotaku. In the same briefing last year, Nintendo said that it would continue the 3DS business And just before the meeting, Nintendo revealed new titles for the console, such as Luigi's Mansion and WarioWare Gold. This was after the 3DS posted US sales of over 750,000 units in December 2017, the highest total for the system since December 2014, as part of a incredible strong holiday season for Nintendo. However, in this year's version of the briefing, Nintendo did not mention the 3DS at all, with no game announcement beforehand. We have nothing new to announce regarding first-party software for the Nintendo 3DS party systems. A spokesperson said in an email to Kotaku, "We can confirm that new software is coming from third-party publishers. The previous announced Kirby's Epic Yarn may turn out to be the final first-party game for the 3DS. And the only third-party game in the works is Persona Q2 new Cinema Labyrinth. It appears that Nintendo is moving on from the handheld console as it turns its focus on the massively successful Nintendo Switch. Nintendo has supported the 3DS longer than many expected, but with the release of the Nintendo Switch and the company's push into mobile gaming, the handheld console's days became numbered. The Nintendo 3DS, which was released in 2011, has sold about 75 million units. Combined with the Nintendo DS, the second best video game system of all time, at 154 million units, just 1 million behind the PlayStation 2. The DS family has sold about 230 million consoles. It remains to be seen if this is really the end for the Nintendo 3DS, but it appears that the only thing missing is an official announcement to confirm the handheld system's retirement. Here is a look back at the... Okay. Alright. Now, I'm not surprised that it could be the end for the 3DS because of the Switch being out. But nonetheless, it is kind of sad at the same time because I love the 3DS. There are still games I have to beat. There are still games for it that I still have to beat and still games I have to get for it. But it was a solid handheld system. But it makes sense that because of the Switch being a hybrid of a typical full-size console and then a handheld, that of course they would focus on the Switch more, because with rumors right now being about the Switch Mini and the Switch Pro potentially coming, of course it could have been debunked because somebody from Nintendo said no, but they are always looking at different hardware capabilities. But because of the report of there potentially being a Switch Mini, I can see that making sense, because like I'm sure that there are those people out there that only play handheld games, especially if they're busy, extremely busy. Like in Japan, that's why the Switch, mobile games, and the 3DS is a big deal over there, because they are constantly going. Even though that even though that they probably do play typical consoles type stuff, they probably it just makes sense that they would be one down with the 3DS. So I still need to get some games for it. I still need to beat some games for it. So either way, it's been a great ride for the system, if it is pretty much dying. But hey, this happens to all consoles, but it doesn't mean that people still shouldn't go out and buy one and buy games for it, because there are some good games that are going to be stuck on the 3DS unless Nintendo puts them on the Switch, which I think it would be cool to maybe have like a lot of those games maybe cleaned up and maybe and like make them HD or something instead of just leaving them to die on the 3DS because there are some fantastic games on 3DS that I've played like Super Mario 3D Land. I mean, hey, Nintendo, here's a freaking idea. How about you do like a Super Mario 3D collection to where you have 3D Land and 3D World on a freaking single cartridge? I mean, come on. But yeah, I'm not totally shocked at all by this. So, anyways, let's get to our next article. One of my most favorite, possibly my game of the year, is getting some premium DLC. It's Kingdom Hearts 3. This is possibly my game of the year. And guess what? It was basically my first game purchase. Well, correction, it was one of two because I got Ni no Kuni 2 on the same day because I took my gift card with me that I got for Christmas to GameStop. But Kingdom Hearts 3 could be getting some premium DLC called Remind, and it's basically what they used to do for the Kingdom Hearts games is that they used to do this version that had additional content to it called Final Mix, and it was exclusive to Japan until they brought out the 1.5 and 2.5 remix collections that include Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, and Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix. And they will put in like extra bosses. What it pretty much was is it was the US game just with some more stuff to it, and they translated the text to Japanese, but the voices were English. So people were wondering, would there be a Kingdom Hearts 3 Final Mix? But the thing is, with DLC being a thing, it's kind of pointless to like do that, to like release two separate Kingdom Hearts 3s. I mean, I would probably buy it anyways because I love Kingdom Hearts that much. But yeah, let's see what this article says. Kingdom Hearts 3 next piece of downloadable content was announced overnight at a Kingdom Hearts orchestra performance in Tokyo called Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. It's more or less a final mix version of the game with extra episodes and content. According to those who attended the concert, the DLC is highlighted by an additional scenario called Remind, and will also feature a secret episode, a secret boss, plus limited episodes and bosses. The DLC will also include a English language option for Kingdom Hearts 3 Japanese version. Series director Tetsuya Nomura announced the DLC at the end of the concert. A launch date and pricing were not mentioned. Separately, a new Keyblade and form will be offered to players for free, which they have on Tuesday. They already put out the first piece of DLC, which was Critical Mode. So yeah, I am freaking looking forward to this. I think it's great that they're going to keep the game alive by DLC, because Kingdom Hearts 3, like I said before, to me was worth the wait. Even though that I disagree that it's been 13 years, blah 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 blah. Which I just want to say about that, we had Kingdom Hearts games released in between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3. So yes, technically it's been 12 years, but technically not, because 358 over 2 recorded and Recoded continued the story from Kingdom Hearts 2. That's why they put that little inside joke, which this might be spoilers a little bit, But screw it. The game has been out for about 4 years. Not 4 years, 4 months. My God, I can't talk. And at the beginning of the game, they put Kingdom Hearts 2.9 as a little inside joke that the game took too long to make. But nonetheless, I made sure to pre-order that game. I made sure to pre-order the freaking Deluxe Edition. If I had the money, I would have freaking pre-ordered the freaking PlayStation 4 Pro. That thing looked freaking sexy. That's how much I love Kingdom Hearts, you guys. I love it that much. So it kind of makes me wondering too. Okay, well, what new stuff can they add? I mean, we can speculate on this for days, which could be a freaking episode of this podcast of its own. But you know, I'm looking forward to it. Some more Kingdom Hearts 3, and especially since this year would definitely be a big year for Final Fantasy fans with the Final Fantasy VII remake, which I'm also looking forward to it. Just not as much as Kingdom Hearts, because I'm going to be honest with you, I prefer Kingdom Hearts over Final Fantasy, but I do have quite a bit of the Final Fantasy games, and which I'm going to be sitting down and play, and I'm going to play them for sure once I beat Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission, of course, because that game's been taking up my time, and also I've been getting back into Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild ever since one of my buddies showed me this rupee farming trick, which deals with bowling. So, yeah, pretty good news for Kingdom Hearts fans. So I'm freaking looking forward to this. And now we're gonna jump into the music side of things. And 40 years ago, Black Sabbath fired Ozzy Osbourne. It's no secret that Black Sabbath were in a state of disrepair when they toured in support of the album Never Say Die in the summer of 1978. Aside from being perpetually wrecked on alcohol and cocaine, the band members were supporting a record they weren't proud of, and the disc wasn't well received, and they were blown off the stage every night by the younger, more fiery Van Halen, who had just released Van Halen 2, and were about to usher in a new wave of melodic hard rock and virtuoso guitar playing. When Sabbath returned home, their spirits were shot, and they sought solace by upping the ante on the drugs and alcohol abuse. Not only was Never Say Die a disappointment, its predecessor, 1976, mentoring Technical Ecstasy, was also poorly received. The rejection was especially hard for vocalist Ozzy Osbourne. Before he joined Black Sabbath, he was physically and mentally abused by his family and peers. It wasn't until he formed Sabbath that he developed a level of confidence and self-worth. Suddenly, he was questioning his value again, and his fear made him reluctant to work on a new album with Black Sabbath. Instead, he drank, did drugs, and made excuses why he couldn't sing. On April 27th, 1979, after various attempts to get Ozzy back on the team, Black Sabbath fired their lead singer. We just couldn't continue with Ozzy, guitarist Tony Iommi said. As much as everyone wanted us to, we just couldn't do it. Nothing was happening, and it would have meant the end of the band. We didn't want to fire him, but we had to if we wanted to continue. Osbourne's dismissal didn't come out of the blue. In 1978, Black Sabbath rented a house in Los Angeles to start writing the follow-up to Never Say Die. They converted their garage into a studio and started to jam. But as soon as they started to come up with music, Ozzy disappeared for 6 weeks. No one knew where he was. Ozzy was going to clubs and getting really out of it and not coming home. I only said for the book Louder Than Hell, the definitive oral history of metal. It got to a stage where nothing was happening with him. He came apart on us. When with Ozzy missing in action, the rest of the band felt handicapped. They could have written the album without him, and in fact, that's what Geezer Butler, who had quit taking drugs in 1976, wanted to do. But Iommi used Ozzy's absence as an excuse to get drunk and high, and drummer Bill Ward didn't need a excuse. Like Ozzy, he was drunk all the time. The difference was he didn't leave the house and could at least prop himself behind the drums when the band decided to try writing. Even when Ozzy returned to the house, he was too trashed to sing. I'd have to go over to Warner Bros. And they say, "How's the album coming?" And I say, "Oh, great. I had to face those people knowing full well that we hadn't anything to play them." It got to the point where the other guy said, "Well, look, if we don't do anything, we're gonna break up. We can't stand it. We're gonna leave." So that was the decision between three of us. We said we're going to have to replace Ozzy. After a couple of months, it became clear that nothing was going to get done until the band had a functioning singer to work with. Since Ward and Ozzy had been the drug commandos who spent the most time together, Iommi and Butler decided Ward should break the news to Ozzy that he was being kicked out. In his book, I Am Ozzy Osbourne, says he felt like he was shoehorned out of the band, and Iommi wanted to punish him for his disappearing acts. I'd had the feeling in the studio for a while that Tony was trying to wind me up by getting me to sing takes over and over again, even though there was nothing wrong with the first one. Osbourne added that when he was falling apart, the other members of Black Sabbath should have stuck by him instead of kicking him to the curb, especially since they themselves weren't exactly sober. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel betrayed by what happened with Black Sabbath. He wrote, we were four blokes who grew up together a few streets apart. We were like family, like brothers, and firing me for being effed up was hypocritical bullshit. We were all effed up. If you're stoned and I'm stoned, you're telling me that I'm fired because I'm stoned. How can that be? Because I'm slightly more stoned than you are. Now, my take on this is that, in a way, Ozzy being fired and Black Sabbath replacing him was really great for both sides, but it's still sad that, in a way, I mean, Ozzy clearly states here that all of them were pretty much effed up. So, and I see Ozzy's point, but I think part of the reason why they fired him was because his antics when he was effed up probably got too much for them, which became a stuff of legends. When it comes to Ozzy Osbourne, we're talking about a guy that was so racked out of his mind that on stage he took a bat and bit its head off. And we're also talking about a guy that snorted ants while being on tour with Motley Crue. So yeah, I can kind of imagine, I can kind of see both sides of the coin here, but we're talking about Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, the guy that became known for his antics on and off stage. Is it no surprise that Black Sabbath wanted someone that was a little bit more level-headed than Ozzy? No. And the thing is, you know, like I said, I love Black Sabbath with Ozzy and what came after, because to me, Black Sabbath is Tony Iommi. That's his band. What's the first thing you hear on a Black Sabbath song? his riffs. And that's my opinion. Which, going into, which, you know what, since we are talking about Black Sabbath, let's get into this. 39 years ago, Black Sabbath roared back with Heaven and Hell. When Black Sabbath fired Ozzy Osbourne, the metal community mourned. Few, including the group's label, could imagine the music pioneers without their wild, charismatic lead singer. But continue they did, and it was Sharon Osbourne who helped them back on their feet. And on April 25th, 1980, Black Sabbath returned with their classic Heaven and Hell album. The initial plan was to work on a side project with Ronnie James Dio while Ozzy straightened out. Sharon Osbourne, who was then working for her manager slash father, Don Arden, suggested the guys work with the mysterious and vocally powerful singer for Rainbow to keep themselves busy. When it became clear Ozzy wasn't going to be able to stay in Sabbath in his current state, they asked Dio if he was interested in being the band's new vocalist. We had him come over to our house in Beverly Hills, and I played him a riff, and he just started singing to it, and we went, bloody hell, this is fantastic. Iommi said in a 2006 interview for a story about Sabbath reunion with Dio. We didn't audition him as such. We just started writing. It was a different way of working for me, which was very refreshing. Always before with Ozzy, it was about riffs, and Ozzy would sometimes sing the riff, but with Ronnie, there were more chords than actual single note riffs. In addition to working well together musically, Dio and Iommi had a lot of common interests and got along from the start. It was like we'd known each other for years. I was very impressed with him. He came in with a great sense of humor. He was obviously used to working with a lot of English people anyway, so he knew all the slang words. He found them very well. Which, obviously, Iommi is correct. He worked with Rainbow. He was the singer for Rainbow. While the two main songwriters of the second generation Black Sabbath were rebuilding the band's shadowed foundation, other forces both inside and outside the group were putting up obstacles that even Iommi's dense musical rhythms couldn't immediately penetrate. Drummer Bill Ward was in an alcoholic stupor most of the time, and bassist Geezer Butler, English, can I speak it, left a few days into the songwriting process to sort out some personal issues, forcing Iommi and Dio to hire a couple of fill-ins while they finished writing. Geezer was only for a couple days after I arrived, Dio recalled. So Tony and I wrote everything. We went to Florida with another bass player to start recording, and in the middle of it, Geezer called Tony and said, I'd really like to come back. Is there any chance? I didn't think it was working that well with the other bass player we hired anyway, but I felt it was important that Geezer played with Tony, so it was a no-brainer. Geezer came down, and that was another tribulation to have to deal with because he wasn't exactly in the best headspace at the time. As songs like The Power Drive and Neon Nights and the epic Imaginistic title track started coming together, Butler and Ward's interest in the band was reignited, and Black Sabbath began playing with a efficiency, and I'm not going to say this other word, it's Vitality. I'm not going to bother saying that word because, I'm already stuttering a lot and screwing up my word patterns. They hadn't displaced in Sabotage 5 years earlier. For the first so many years, Black Sabbath were the underdog, and they were fighting against the system. We were writing out of sheer stubbornness, I think, Iommi said, everybody was wondering what was going to happen and what it was going to be like, and what it and was it going to work. We just believed in what we were doing and carried on with it. Despite their enthusiasm for the songs, they were writing Black Sabbath's Black Sabbath's label was skeptical that anyone would be interested in Sabbath without Ozzy, and refused to pay for the recordings. So the band funded the sessions themselves, with time burning holes in their pockets. Sabbath worked more quickly than they were used to, which meant less personal indulgences. We couldn't possibly operate at the level we were used to. Iommi said we had to be focused and work quickly. Having said that, we had our days where we would dabble a bit, but we didn't say, we're going to do an album. Let's do tons of drugs and drink. And because Black Sabbath didn't party like coke fiends, didn't mean there were some crazy moments while they worked on Heaven and Hell. When they finished a track, they take to the logo. I'm not gonna say strip joint, and the DJ would play it while the girls dance. At one point, Iommi set Ward on fire as part of her prank they had pulled dozens of times. On this time, the drummer was badly burned, and when Iommi found out Dio was afraid of snake, the door was open for another practical joke. I found a dead rattlesnake, so I tied it to a bed of a thin fishing line and put it in his car and tied the other end to his door handle. So when he opened the door, the snake jumped towards him. He wasn't very happy about that, so the next thing I knew, I went to the loo in my room, and there's a snake down my toilet. Black Sabbath recorded Heaven and Hell between October 1979 and January 1980 at Miami's Criteria Studios, where the band had tracked Technical Ecstasy. They worked on the album with Martin Birch, who encouraged them to expand their sonic perimeters and experiment with structures that suited Dio's multi-octave voice. The results were astonishing. Children of the Sea is majestic and textural, building from a Led Zeppelin-ish acoustic wash to a heavy, grindy chug, while the serpentine Lady Evil and Wishing Well revolves around blues metal rhythms, simple melodic choruses, and Iommi's psychological tin solos. Then there's Die Young, which starts with a atmospheric Pink Floyd-ish intro before seesawing between ripping metal and proggy parts laced with wispy keyboards and vocals. When we finished and played the songs for everybody, it was a real vindication. Dio said everyone who had originally doubted us was saying, "All right, I'm hopping on this wagon." So, with all that said, when Iommi mentioned about the label, that's a pretty common thing with a lot of music fans. Well, most casual music fans and record labels. The singer is the band. That's pretty much how they are. And I disagree with that notion 100%. Because the thing is about Ozzy, yes, he knew melody, and yes, he did write some songs, and he did play, I believe, a synthesizer on another Black Sabbath song. But most of the time, Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi wrote the songs for the band. And like I always tell people, it takes more than one person to actually write songs in a band. The singer isn't the band. If that's the case, then you might as well say Black Sabbath was basically another solo project for Ozzy. And that's my opinion. Which, like I said previously, I think Ozzy and Black Sabbath benefited from them separating, because we had the awesome Blizzard of Oz with Randy Rhoads, and we had the great Heaven and Hell with Ron James Dio on vocals. So there you go. And not to mention Ronnie James Dio was a better singer than Ozzy, which really helped the music out immensely. Alright, I want to jump into these three next subjects a little quick since we're starting to run out of a little bit of time here. So anyways, let's get started here. Def Leppard reveal Volume 2 box set details. Alright. Fresh off their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Def Leppard will revisit their past a little more with the upcoming release of Volume 2, the second installment of their limited edition box set. This is the second of 4 volumes with the band's 90 output. The set will be available as a 10 LP, 180 gram vinyl box set, or as a limited edition 7 CD set featuring all the 90s recordings with their original packaging. The group had Roman McHugh remaster the set, which was cut by Greg Moore. Look for it arrival on June 21st. Yeah. For those needing a refresher, the band's 90 output included 1992 chart-topping A Generalized album, the B-sides, and Rarities 1993 set Retroactive, the polarizing 1996 Slain, which marked Vivian Campbell's first full album with the band, and 1990's top 10 release Euphoria. Also included in the set will be Rarities Volume 2 and 3, with singer Joel Elliott sifting through the archives to add more B-sides and live recordings. Def Leppard Volume 2 will also come with a 40-page handbook filled with rare photos and introductions penned by the band members. You can check out the full checks listed, blah blah blah. Now, I still need to get the first set. I'm definitely interested in including Def Leppard in my record collection because I do like Def Leppard a lot. I'm more of a fan of On Through the Night to Hysteria. I'm a fan of that period. I guess that you can call me a classic Def Leppard fan in a way, but I do like them, so there you go. We got the Volume 2 set details. Next up, we have Testament. Testament guitarist preparing ultra heavy riffs for band's new album. Testament has spent the early part of 2019 building towards a new album, even eyeing this July as a prospective release date. But while vocalist Chuck Berry was previously tight-lipped about the tone, the effort was taken. Guitarist Eric Peterson and Alex Skolnick, and I'm sorry if I butchered his last name, touted Wednesday, April 24th, the ultra heavy riffage they've been working on for the follow-up to 2016's Brotherhood of the Snake, and they're almost ready to start recording it. Peterson took to Instagram to share the news. The musician was flanked by his fellow guitarists and a trio of picks that show the Testament twosome. Wood shedding set of riffs, scroll through. Okay, so that's pretty cool. They are starting to work on a new Testament album. So looks like we should be getting some new thrash metal, possibly, hopefully next year. Hopefully. So as long as they don't have to tour or nothing, or if they have some festival dates they have to do this year, then hopefully things will go according to plan and they can get the album out maybe early next year. Hopefully. I mean, of course, that's just my speculation. So, alright, let's get into, well, this can kind of cover the horror part. And I know that my co-host is going to love this. Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell gets R rating for violence, nudity, and drug use. Rob Zombie's newest film, 3 from Hell, has been given its rating from the MPAA. And good news, it's been slapped with an R. PG-13 and Rob Zombie films don't quite go together, so So AR rating is the best we could hope for. Zombies 2016 flick 31 was hit with a NC-17 rating, crippling the film's reach and forbidding individuals under 17 from watching the movie, even if accompanied by a parent or guardian. Well, after two tries through the MPAA, our rating on 31 remains MP-17. Maybe 3 is a charm to get an R rating. Why are you asked? Well, because your local theater will not show an NC-17, even though you are a effing adult. Things must be censored for your enjoyment. Zombie posted on Facebook. The R rating is a win for both zombie and fans. 3 from Hell received an R for strong sadistic violence, language throughout sexual content, graphic nudity, and drug use. This will surely please zombie film buffs, as will appearances from the 3 rejects themselves, like Sid Haig, Sherry Muzabi, and Bill Moseley. Bushiri legend Denny Trujillo and comedian Tom Papa are also featured. Well, there you go. And also, it has yet to receive a release date. But either way, we should be hearing something about that movie maybe pretty soon, considering it was just rated. And I'm looking forward to it because I love House of a Thousand Corpses. I love The Devil's Rejects, and to go back into that world again is going to be awesome. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully very soon we can, have a release date. I am hoping. Anyways, I have one last thing I want to talk about, because this is what annoys me about a lot of your older musicians and a lot of your older music fans. Jeff Tate says modern metal is watered down. It's always interesting hearing opinions on the current state of rock and metal from the veterans of the genre. Former Queensryche singer Jeff Tate isn't exactly a fan of metal stands these days, saying the genre is watered down. Now in a recent interview with Australia's Heavy Podcast, Tate cites how much popularity the music has garnered in the years since his career started, and how younger generation musicians treat it more like a brand than an art. When I first started back in the early 80s, 81, 82, metal especially was really the revolutionary music at the time. It was really extreme compared to what was popular, what was playing on the radio, and that kind of thing. The singer reflects, but in time it got to be very popular, accepted, gentrified to the point where it's almost ridiculous now. The type of subgenres there are to describe it. So it's gone from being an outcast, revolutionary, if I can freaking talk, dangerous sort of music to completely accepted and watered down, and sort of gentrified to the point where it's now a lifestyle choice. Tate explains how the term rock star used to be an insult to musicians because it meant they were posers, but now rock stars has completely changed the term. The younger generations are completely into the exploration of the brand that they've created now, which my generation found completely distasteful. He says bands have bobbleheads and are merchandising their name on everything possible, from makeup and tennis shoes to sporting wear, you name it. It's on everything, and it's a completely different mindset. How many times do a lot of these veteran musicians have to keep saying that metal is watered down now? Oh my lord. If I had a penny for all the times I heard rock and metal was dead, or that the genre is watered down now, I probably would have enough money to probably buy about 3 Les Pauls. Oh my god. Okay. Do I think metal is watered down? No, because the thing is that what he needs to forget is he was Queensryche, even though that they were prog, they were thrown into the whole hair band labeling. Okay, glam metal, hair metal, whatever you want to call it, poser metal, whatever you want to call it. They were thrown into that genre. They wore makeup on stage, while the freaking Slayers, Anthraxes, Exoduses, Metallica, Venom, Hellhammer, Celtic Frost group of people called those band posers. And to me, I'm more like, well, technically, if I want to be honest, some people could say Queensryche is kind of watered down metal. I mean, if you prefer the more extreme types of metal like thrash metal, black metal, and death metal, then anything that came from the mainstream metal during the 80s is going to seem very watered down to you. Even I'm to that point. That to me, even though that I like Dokken, I like Motley Crue, I like Poison, I put Motley Crue in there because they are considered hair metal, even though I disagree with them being one. They don't really. I still like their music, but I would honestly rather listen to Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, Mayhem, Pantera, Exodus, heavy bands like that, than listen to the 80s hard rock stuff. With there being two exceptions, of course, with Guns N' Roses and Van Halen, but they're not really hair metal. Van Halen might have created the genre in a way, and Guns N' Roses wore makeup during their club days, but they're two totally different sounding bands, and the albums don't reflect that, in my opinion. So it's like you have these older, metal and rock veterans saying that, rock is dead, metal is dead, it's watered down, it's not watered down, it's not dead. Here's my opinion, okay? I don't think it's dead. I don't think it's watered down. Is there not really a band that has definitely made people wanna, let me rephrase this. Do I think that do I think there are any bands that can carry the torch? Of course, Ghost. That's one band on the top of the head I can probably tell you right now that could probably go far. Yes, do they consider themselves metal? No, but they have metal influences. You can hear metal in their songs, especially their first album, Opus Eponymous. So, this is my opinion, okay? If you still like rock and metal, then go support the bands that you like. Buy the music. Go to concerts and all that. But the thing is too, like what Jeff Tate says there, it's like metal and rock is still a underground thing, especially metal. Metal is still underground thing. That's why stuff like the Grammys, like my God, I mean, how dare they show the freaking metal awards ceremony on TV? Like, how dare they? I mean, oh my God, I mean, we got to protect, the Katy Perrys of the world from this evil music. But the funny thing is, a lot of those pop stars, they are into that type of music. Lady Gaga is a freaking big Maiden fan, and also a Metallica fan. And I know that, there's going to be people that say that, well, if she is, then why the hell has she not made a metal album? Which I can see that point. But the thing is, just, oh my lord. This is all I gotta say. To me, rock and metal ain't dead. When you go to concerts now, you're seeing, parents take their younger kids. I mean, hell, at a Slayer show I saw last year, there was this little girl on her dad's shoulder holding up the horns. And I bet you, when she's older, she is gonna go look through her dad's record collection and pick out a Slayer album and play it. And the next thing you know, she's probably buying a guitar. And the next thing you know, she's probably formed a band. I do think that we are possibly coming up to a rock and metal um re quote unquote revival, if you want to call it that. But to me, I would rather have metal and rock be underground, so that this way they can make the albums that they want to, and they don't have to compromise with the record labels. But anyways, that's it for this episode of the Metal Gamer Podcast. I want to apologize for my stuttering and any grammar mistakes. And yeah, I will be seeing you. If I can get this out, like, my God, English. This has been the Metal Gamer Podcast, and I hope you all have a kick-ass day, and make sure to freaking play some damn good games and listen to heavy fucking metal. And I'll see you all next time.